We're coming up to a significant date, a 1-year anniversary of Billy's passing, right? August 11th?
Yeah. I got it. That's going to be a hard day for me. He was like, essentially the closest thing I've ever had, like a father to me, except for, my stepdad. But I really was like his kid, and there was a time that, I don't know, Billy always accredited me for saving his life because he had a heart attack and found him. And I went to the hospital and I lied that I was his daughter for the nurse to let me go in and see him. And I was just thinking like, God damn it, Billy, please don't say I don't have a kid, because I could totally see him doing that because he's never had children. And we cried and I yelled at him and I just said, you're not allowed to die. We have to record a record first. Like we have all of this crap that we have to do before you die. I'm like, you can't die. And, they only gave him a few days to live. But after that, he was out of the hospital in like 2 weeks and his heart was back to pumping at like 35%. He ended up living for years after that. I don't know.
At 35%.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
It was at 5% when he got to the hospital. It was just his heart was just like a loose muscle,
Wow.
So he ended up, living and re-recorded records. I can't even tell you how many songs I've recorded with him, and he produced a bunch of songs. And Billy was, a legend. Really, he worked with
Absolutely.
the world's greatest musicians. There's a photo of him holding Mick Jagger in his arms when Mick fell off the stage. He was working with the Rolling Stones, and he fell backwards. And Billy was just down on the side of the stage, which is like a 15-foot drop. Billy was working the monitors, and he just put his arms out and caught him, and they snapped the photo, and both of them were just looking at the camera and completely surprised. He was just a magical human being, really just the greatest person in the world.
And so, he worked with James Brown, Eric Clapton, the Goo Goo Dolls, Britney Spears, Prince, Keith Richards too, right?
Yeah, and he recorded Nirvana's first live record, really close to the Nirvana guys. He was just a legend,
Absolutely.
And for me, it was I just would, hang around him to just absorb his knowledge like a little sponge. And then I got the news of his passing and I felt incredibly, I was overcome with grief, first of all, and then guilt. Because for years I'd been telling him that, I'm going to get famous, I'm going to buy you a house and, we're going to hang out every day and record records together. And I wanted to take care of him. I always had such a like father-daughter, even like a maternal feeling toward him to just take care of him. And when he passed, I went through a few days where I was really hard on myself, I suppose. I felt like I could have prevented his death. But inevitably, he was suffering a lot. He had hip replacement, like tumors removed, and stents in his heart, and he was in a lot of pain. So I wrote "White Light" because I woke up that night, or that morning. I kept waking up by you've had those dreams where you're falling, and when you wake up, you scoot in bed. Mm-hmm. That was the entire night where about every 15 or 20 minutes, a big white light would shine and I would just get startled out of sleep. Okay. And then I finally woke up when I finally woke up that morning, I had, 30 missed calls, like 100 text messages. And I didn't speak to anybody for days. Everyone wanted me to call them, but just the thought of saying his name just threw me into like violent weeping. Wow. Excuse me. So... Sorry, I burped.
Yeah, no problem.
It's okay.
And I wrote "White Light." "White Light, you keep on waking me. You're trying to come home." Because Billy was also had a hilarious sense of humor. So I always thought that if he was going to come back to fuck with anybody, it would be me. I would be the first person he would mess with and not let me sleep and just mess with me and scare me constantly just because he would think it's funny.
Right,
so
right.
that's exactly what this song is about. It really helped. Being a musician really helps to get through grief and difficult situations because you're able to write about it. Because I couldn't speak to anyone, I wouldn't be able to get 2 words out without crying.
Yeah.
So
you have an outlet.
Yeah, being able to to grieve through writing and talking about it in my songs and singing about it really helped me kind of make my peace with it and move on, you know. And I dedicated the record to him, and I don't know, I miss him.